Hey guys, Mike coming back with my national recap. Um, don't usually get a bunch of stuff at the national, though this year I did do a little better than normal. It's more about meeting people. I hadn't been to one since 2020 when COVID broke out, so it's nice to get back again. I really enjoyed it. Stayed with Brian B. Roth again. We usually stay together and walk the floors at least once while we're together at the show, so it's nice to get back into that routine. We were at the Westin. So a little bit of a walkover, but not too bad. Um, as usual, we usually give each other little gifts before we get started, and Brian was very kind enough to give me this nice, beautiful 1970 Tops bench signed in red ink, already slabbed up by SGC back when they did authentication. So that was very nice. Thank you, Brian. And you also gave me this 2008 Top Sterling, one of one, uh, with star 14 in its little windows, which for is a 14-time All-Star. Nice patches and jerseys, and I think that's part of a cap down at the bottom on the 4. So Brian, just thank you so much for these beautiful pickups, with beautiful cards. You always hook me up real good with these bench cards, and I really appreciate it. It was great seeing you, being with you the whole time, and having a good time on at the showroom floors. And I'll be honest, it was with all that extra space, it took a while to get through it even one time. I think normally I get through the whole show usually by Thursday night. We get there on Wednesday afternoon, do Wednesday night sneak peek, do Thursday, and by then I'm usually through once, and then I can do another thorough second time. With the extra space and the heat and all that was just, especially in the new area, was just horrible. Um, I got through a second time, but I was more skimmed through it the second time, looking at things that I'd passed over the first. But thank you, Brian, for those. Beautiful. Dave at one of the YouTube get togethers, I think it was Friday night, surprised me with this bench. This is a beautiful Upper Deck Premier, one of one, with the MVP window with jerseys. Beautiful card, Dave. Can't thank you enough. Very special of you to do that for me. And I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. A beautiful card. I do normally just do tops, but I do collect cards outside of tops when they're nice. And he just hooked me up with a really nice piece. So thank you again, Dave. I really love it. Now, I did hit all 4 of my current PCs, so I was very happy about that. I'm trying to do a typeset for all the Jewish players that have cards. This is a tough one. This is a 1926 Z-Nut. Z-Nuts were cards that were done on the West Coast. I believe the farthest back in the dead ball era, 10s, 20s, the farthest that teams in Major League Baseball were up through St. Louis, as far west as they went. So they had the Pacific Coast League out on the West Coast. This is Ike Danning. He played with the San Francisco Missions. This is his, like I said, only known card that was issued. Very tough. There's only 2 or 3 graded. And I've probably seen a few others, maybe a dozen at the most, that I've seen ever circulated over the years. So very happy to get that, and I thought it was a pretty reasonable price, so happy with that. I was in the new section, and I was passing over a mostly modern dealer, and I saw the way the G on this card, I came back to the left, and it caught my eye, and I thought, that looks like Hank, which I wasn't expecting at their table. I was kind of just glancing through and was getting ready to pass on. And they had this beautiful, already PSA slabbed Greenberg vintage signature. One of only 2 that I saw at the whole show. His vintage period signatures are harder and harder to find. This one's probably circa 30, anywhere from 35 to 36, 37 in that range. It's very distinctive on how he signed his name, as far as you can tell, a lot of times within a few years of when he signed it, especially in the playing days. And he had this for a steal. I got it for like $60, which is crazy. I assume he's just a modern dealer mostly, and probably had no idea about what Hank stuff goes for and such. So that was a nice, this for a card you see out of the corner of your eye. I was very happy with that. And I got this nice 1934-35 Detroit Tigers postcard. Really in nice shape. It's unused on the back. Good price. There's Hank right down here. Don't see these very often. There's a blue version that Brian and I both have, and then this is the black and white version. And happy to get that. It's nice to see so many people. Like I said, it's been 3 years I didn't go. Just to see everybody again, see some new people. I'm not going to go through all the names because I will leave out somebody, and I don't want to do that. But it's nice to see all these people. One person I will mention is, if you enjoy photography, we went to Friday night, I think it was. We went to the Net 54 group get together. I don't know if you don't know about Net 54. It's a forum on the web, and they specialize on everything. You can go back any type of area of cards you want, any sport, and it's not. They do buy and sell on there, but the main thing they do is you can ask questions about certain sets or cards. A lot of knowledge there that you can really tap into and get opinions and such. At the Net 54 group, they were kind. They gave us pizza and free drinks, and we had a great time there. Got to see Drew and Max and Andrew and Tony. We had a good time with them. And Jim Chapman was actually given a talk about vintage photography, baseball photography of the dead ball era. He just wrote this book. It just came out maybe a few weeks ago. And he did a slideshow on it, and it was really good. If you enjoy Rick, vintage oddball cards, and it was really good to see him too. Enjoyed talking with him. If you enjoy vintage photographs like he shows, or the ones I show maybe of Hank and Barney, I know John showed some, but if you're into the photographs, this book is amazing. It talks about all the original photographers and the companies that did them. Like there's considered the greatest image ever taken of Ty Cobb sliding into Jimmy Austin from 1909. And of course, these real vintage photographs can get very expensive. But you can get things at decent prices too. RMY is a photography group that specializes. They auction photos. Here's a Babe Ruth, 1914 in Comiskey Park, considered one of his first photographs taken. In fact, it says here, this is the glass negative. Back then, the negatives were made out of glass, if you can believe that. You can see some chipping on the sides. And it says here, no vintage prints are known to exist. So whatever prints were made from this glass slide, none of them survived over time. But very cool. Here's one of Ty Cobb. That's from 1915. And one thing you may enjoy too, if you collect the old sets, any of them, I'll show you a few examples. They'll show you how the photographs were used to make the cards, especially T206 and any of the issues that were made that were like it has a whole chapter of this that were used to make cards. Like this first one here is Willie Keeler showing the actual photograph used, and it made his E97 card. Or this Chief Bender 1914 Cracker Jack card made from this print from 1910. And for you T206 guys, Chief Bender, this T206 portrait card, and the cabinet card that was used to as the reference for it. And there's more and more. Christy Mathewson, and is used for the portrait on the tuxedo tobacco box. It's a common photo. And we'll end it here with Eddie Collins, photo from the Polo Grounds, 1910, and on this card here. So this book, I haven't really had a chance to go through it a lot. He did do a wonderful presentation on it. And if you enjoy photos and the history of photos and anything associated with that, I would definitely recommend this book. It's a fantastic reference, and it's brand new, so it's going to be fascinating to read. And I saved my favorite to last. This is for my Pelty collection. This is a 1908 trifold panoramic postcard. This is actually a postcard. It's a team photo of the 1908 St. Louis Browns, and goes through the whole team. This was sold at Leland's years ago, and this dealer I got it from, I was lucky to work a deal with him so I could get this into the collection. There's Bernie there. It's pricey because you got two Hall of Famers. You got Bobby Wallace here. I like this form. These are wearing peacoats or sweaters, or I'm not for sure. I think they're sweaters. But I love this that they used to do sweaters back in the day. And I love these two guys, Bobby Wallace and this Powell guy that refused to button up their sweaters for the photo. This is something I get a kick out of. And probably what makes this was rather pricey because of Rube Waddell on the card. He only played for the Browns, I think, for a couple of years, but he's if you collect the old stuff, you know he's a very popular player. Probably just wrestled an alligator or something like that and showed up for his picture here. These are actually a postcard. You could fold it. It's three ways. See, it's unused, but see, you got a place for the stamp on the back. I assume they folded. And I don't know how you held it together. I don't know what they used back then to hold things together back in 1908. Some sort of glue or tape or something like that. But a beautiful piece. I've only seen, I've done some research trying to see how many of these things there are. I've only seen two or three, three I think at auction over the years since I've been collecting again. But just a beautiful piece. So that's everything I got. Had a great time. Like I said, after this is like my 9th national, and walking that floor took I'm getting older too, but it was a lot. But I do like Chicago. At the Net 54, we got a update saying that they, unless they finalize, the 2026 is going to be either in Chicago, Atlantic City, or Atlanta. Based on what they're talking and the deal Atlantic City gives the National for use of their place, which is free, I believe, I can't imagine any way that it's not going to be at Atlantic City, unless Atlanta really gives them a heck of a deal too. But anyway, I had a great time, exhausting, but it was fun. Great to see Brian and all the other guys. Everybody I talked to. Just after 3 years of not going, it was really a blast, and I really had a great time. And thank you all that I talked to that I haven't mentioned. Like I said, I really didn't want to get into names, but it was a blast. And as far as material, I would say I saw more quality vintage rarities at this one than I've ever seen. Um, I, there's a lot of vintage, but not as much as I remember from some years, to be honest. Like where I got this postcard, they had just amazing stuff from the turn of the century and earlier and a little later, from 1880s up through 1920s. Their table was amazing, just fantastic. And I don't know, it can't wait for next year in Cleveland, and we'll go from there, Lord willing. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hate if I left anybody out that I started to say. I apologize. It's great to see everybody and have a good time. And I hope to do it again next year. All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.